Hey everybody, what's happening? It's your buddies Thor and Dude Man. He's resting after a little I guess this morning was a 1.6700 foot hike. Not anything too big, just to get something under our belts before we go do some more training. We're actually prepping for a new TV show next month. So with any luck, I'll be working on my birthday. So anyway, I wanted to finally just kind of come by and go over this birth certificate with you guys. When I actually got a hold of my birth certificate from my mother this past Christmas, it was pretty interesting to read the birth certificate with the new knowledge that I have and actually be able to go through the dictionary and look at some of these words that mean more than what we think they mean. And especially when you're looking in a law dictionary. And that law dictionary is very specific. So what we're going to do here is I am going to go ahead and screen record my screen, and then you guys can see what in the devil. Boom. All right. So now I'm screenshotting this thing. We'll go look it through this. Kettering Medical Center. Okay, hospital birth record. So right away, let's go down here to record and just bump. Here we go. Let's just take a look at what it says record. And again, I suggest everybody get more than one dictionary so you can cross-reference certain things and get a good understanding of what these words mean. Okay, so record, to preserve the memory of by committing to writing or printing or by inscription to write or enter in official books for authentic evidence, to transcribe in permanent form for reference. Authentic evidence. Okay, this is really the key to this entire birth certificate, okay? So it says hospital birth record. This is the evidence that you were born. This is the evidence of this record is evidence of this particular certificate. So what is this certificate? Is this just simply saying that somebody was born? Or does it have more information on here once we start digging? Remember, you got to remove layers sometimes. And once you get through the layers, you start to understand what this really means. The way that they hide a lot of things is they'll put the truth here, and then they'll put something else that's still true on top of it, and then something else, and then something else. And by the time you get to the third or fourth layer up, the truth is so well hidden that these other words have dual meanings. So the words can mean something else instead of what the original meaning is. And when you go in a court of law, which basically your paperwork is your court. So when you go into court, you have to be very specific and specify in the court what the definition or the meaning is of the word you're using, okay? Because if you just acquiesce to the meaning that they say, or if you don't even discuss what the meaning actually means, they are going to assume, okay, which the courts are allowed to do. They can assume that you understand the meaning to be what they are meaning it to be, okay? So in this particular item, it says hospital birth record. This is an official record. We'll get to that in just a minute. This certifies that Ryan Michael Thor was born to Nancy and Wayne Thor. So these are your vital statistics. So here we go. In witness whereof said the hospital has caused this certificate to be signed by its duly authorized officer. So it's not signed by a doctor, it's not signed by, the nurse saying, hey, where to go? It's signed by a duly authorized officer. Okay, so we go over here and we say, well, gee whiz, what the devil is officer? Okay, so let's go look at what officer means. Officer, one lawfully invested with an office. Okay. one invested by a superior authority, particularly by government, with the duty of transacting affairs of a certain class. In an incumbent of office, a person designated to execute some function of government. Okay? So, if we say officer, all right, and its official seal. So here's the seal here. So if you look at the seal, it says this is the official seal of the officer. So who is he a incumbent of? Who is he the duly appointed authorized officer of? Okay, this is a corporation. So Kettering Medical Center is a corporation. Okay, and all corporations are sub-corporations of the United States, which is the supreme corporation in this country. Okay, and when I say country, I mean the commercial country of the United States. I do not mean the nation of America with the states united. That's something totally different. That's a nation. A nation and a country, they mean two separate things, okay? So this particular seal is telling you right here that they are a corporation, and that is why they have an authorized officer. Okay, so let's just come over here. Okay. President, of course, attending physician. So they do have the physician here sign, and then of course, so that's a witness. You know, all documents are going to have a witness, and since they're not using their thumbprints as witnesses, nor is the president, then he has an actual other physical witness there. Okay, so here we go. So again, it has an authorized. It has a government agent who is part of this transaction. Okay, so now let's go to the back side of this thing. Okay, just for shits and giggles, who knows what crazy bastards are capable of these days as far as misusing people's information. So that goes with the bottom of the foot, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Okay, so let's start with up here. Okay, father's name, mother's name. So right away you can see they did with this what they did with the other one, which is when they recorded my name, you'll notice they put the given name and then the additional identifier, and they put the surname last, which is it's incorrect. Okay, lawfully the surname means superior, means above, and I showed that definition in a different video that I did. So you'll have to go back and look at some of those videos, because I have other definitions in there. Although I really suggest people start looking up every word and get a true good understanding of what that word means. Okay, again, understanding has more than one definition as well. Understanding can simply mean you comprehend what's going on, and understanding also means you stand under the jurisdiction of whatever it might be. So that's why I say overstanding sometimes. I want people to understand that or comprehend that. I want you to comprehend it, but I want you to stand on the knowledge. Okay, so overstand. Okay, so they recorded my name backwards. Why would they record my name backwards? They know that the family name always comes first. Family comes first. Well, again, if you are going to start a separate business, you have to use the name a little bit different. You can't have the identical same name, especially if you're trying to fool people, which is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to fool people into agreeing that this is them, even though this is not them. Okay, so this certificate is already made out to somebody who is not me, because my living name would be Thor, Ryan, and then the additional identifier. Okay, if they were looking to find me, first they would come to the town and they would ask for Ryan. Okay, and then if there were more than one Ryan, they would say, well, which family are you looking for? And they would say the family of Thor. His name is Ryan, his given name. We don't have last names. Everybody needs to get rid of that last name. Forget about that last name. And, when people ask you for your last name, you need to tell them it's your, Ryan, your first name, or your additional identifier. The additional identifier is actually the last name. And the middle name would be your given name if you have the 3 names in a row, okay? So it certainly is not your family name. So the family name, and again, last means final. So when they say your last name, they mean your final resting name, your dead name, So you're not dead. Don't identify with that name. Like I told you on another video previously, I had to go to court and testify with a friend of mine, and they asked me a few times, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name's Ryan." And they said, "What's your last name?" I said, "I don't have a last name." I said, "I come from the family Thor." And they said, "So is that your first or last name?" And I said, "My given name is Ryan." And they said, "So your last name is Thor?" I said, "No, I don't have a last name." I said, "My given name is Ryan. I come from the family of Thor." So that's basically how I wanted it on record. I deny that there's any last name. I tell them I come from the family of Thor. My given name is Ryan. So it's very important that you have that on the record. Every chance you get, put it on the record. Because part of the process of starting to break away from being the straw man, identifying with the Social Security, because again, they set up the Social Security birth certificate account as a separate corporation, an entity, a business. And then here's you, the living person. So all corporations cannot function. They're all dead. Okay. It's the living person that comes in and makes the thing work, right? Without the living person, this thing's dead. It doesn't do anything. A corporation or business cannot function without a living person coming and making it operate. Okay. So what they have done here is they've created this company, and then what they're doing is they're secretly getting you to come and operate this company without even knowing that you're operating the company. It's brilliant. If people don't understand that they're operating a company, then it's really easy to take advantage of them and basically steal their earnings and steal their money and their inheritance. Because this company that they created, that you've been working for your whole life, that's been building up assets and wealth, you're not claiming it. So before I get too far off, let's keep focusing on here, okay? So right away, you see what they did with the father's full name. They put it backwards, okay? The family always comes first. It should be Thor, okay? It should be Mr. Thor right here, because Mr. means master. If you look in the dictionary, again, if you go back to a Latin dictionary and look up the word master, Mr. is simply an abbreviation of master. And when you turn 25, you're supposed to be a master at that point. You're supposed to be a master of your affairs at that point, pardon me. And we're not claiming that. It's because we don't know, okay? So, and then mother's maiden name. Now, why maiden name? Isn't she joined to this man? And if you join to the man, you take the man's family name. So why on earth would they have her maiden name? It's no longer her name. That makes no sense whatsoever, except in a legal and lawful standpoint. Legally, if she keeps the maiden name, then legally they are not joined on this particular authorized evidence, because this is evidence. And again, your court is your paperwork. So your paperwork defines who you are. If your paperwork says this, then it doesn't matter what you say out of your mouth. What is on record? So here they have on record that my mom was not married at the time that I was born. Why does that matter? Well, now they're making my mom the informant. My mother is the one that is in charge of me. And since she's not joined to this man in any way, shape, or form, because she does not have his last name, now I am a bastard. Okay, by the definition, I am a bastard. I need a master in my life to take care of me. So what's the state do? The state swoops in to take care of me. They created this corporation, this trust, because they're like, well, he doesn't have a family to take care of him. So we're going to create this trust, this business. Okay, so they create this fictitious entity to take care of me because I am without a father. Okay, according to the court record, which is the paper. Okay, again, this paper. I left that one with my mom. So this paper is really heavy duty, like, bank paper. Like it is, official bank stock. It is not your average paper that they would put a trinket on. So they make it heavy duty because, again, it's a very important document. We're going to get to that in just a second. So we'll keep going. So yeah, my mother's maiden name. So right away, on paper, in court, on record, they have them both telling the world that they are not joined. And another reason that this is possible is because even when they got married, they registered through the state. So again, it's just a corporate, it's a corporation that they registered their marriage through. It wasn't, it's supposed to be a contract between the two of them, but they don't have a contract with each other. They have a contract with the corporation. So, and again, your most recent contract is the one that stands. So if they had a contract with the state that they're married, and then all of a sudden now they're writing here most recently that they are not married, this would be the most recent contract that the court would go over. Okay, so they got them separated. Dun, 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 dun. Now, here's where we get into what I want to make sure I go through this the right way. So why don't we do, you know what? I think I forgot another word to look up here. I did. That's all right. Let's pull up the dictionary real quick. And I have two dictionaries I'm working out of right now, just for this one project, okay? So let's go to estate. I think that's the one I did not look or have available for us to go over. Oops, sorry, I'm not paying attention there. Dun, dun. There it is, estate. Okay. I don't think I want to go with estate just yet. Bear with me, I did not map this out completely. Okay, so why don't we go down here to the bottom here, and we'll start with this, and then we'll work our way through it, okay? We'll get back to the importance of the footprint and the thumbprints, okay? These are my mom's witnesses, right? It's a witness that my mom was the one that signed this document. How come they don't have the father on there? Again, if the father was important on this document, wouldn't they want to make sure that he was identified properly here? But he's not. It does not matter who the father is because they're not joined together. Their accounts are separate now. So the father, doesn't matter who the father is, they're not a union. Okay? If they were lawfully on paper together, then he would have to have a witness in this too. They would have to verify that he, is the one signing this paper, but he doesn't sign the paper. It's the mother. So so these are the mom's signature right here, left and right, thumbprint. Okay, those are her witnesses. Okay, this document should be carefully preserved. It is your family's heirloom record of the facts pertaining to your child's birth. Okay, so right away, heirloom. Most people don't really know what in the bejesus heirloom means. And it says heirloom record. Remember what we said record was? A official documenting. So let's go up here to heirloom. Okay. Boop. There we go. So what is heirloom? Why is heirloom just a bedpan that used to belong to great grandma that we passed down, or is it something much more? Okay. Such personality as contrary to the nature of chattels. Okay. So right away, I would guarantee most everybody out there doesn't understand what chattels is. And the reason I say that is because I had no idea what chattels was. Okay, it goes by special custom to the heir along with the inheritance. Along with the inheritance. So this particular document goes along with the inheritance. Well, what's the inheritance? So first of all, let's look up what the heck is chattels. What does chattels mean? And this is the way that you do your research, is you go one by one, and each word you come across where you either think you know what it is, and it's fun for me to go look through this stuff now because I thought I knew what heirloom meant, and I didn't understand that heirloom meant much more. So the first word we ran into, which I wasn't familiar with, was chattel. You'll hear chattel papers. You'll see over here chattels personnel, chattels real. So chattel, things personal include not only things movable, but something more. The whole of which is comprehended under the general name of chattels, which Koch says is a French word signifying goods from the technical Latin catala, which meant primarily beast of husbandry and secondarily all movables in general. Okay? So you might read it a couple times if because sometimes they're worded a little tricky, but basically the the gist of it is all goods. It signifies the word goods that are movable goods. So you and I, we're goods. You and I are movable. Okay, so which is going to bring us to estate. So what is an estate? Because again, they put all a definition upon definition upon definition upon definition, and you have to get an understanding of all the definitions to understand what it is this piece of paper is saying. Okay, so let's go back over here. Okay, is your family's heirloom record of the facts pertaining to your child's birth. Oh, inheritance was the next thing. So we went to heirloom and we found out that heirloom meant inheritance. So now we go to inheritance and let's see what inheritance means. Well, we found out that heirloom meant inheritance, and heirloom is also forms of chattel, which we know are movable goods. Okay, so the heirloom is movable goods. Okay, and it goes along with the inheritance. So the movable goods goes along with the inheritance. Well, what's the inheritance? And you might listen to this video a couple times if you're having trouble getting it. I know when I study with other people, I'll have to listen to their videos several times before I actually get an understanding of what it is they're trying to say, or as I said before, an overstanding, truly comprehending what it is the person said. Because I've been doing this for about 8 months, 10 months, and it's taking me that long before I, listening over and over and over, before now I get an understanding of what this really means, okay? So here we are, inheritance. Right away at the very beginning, look at this, inheritance. An estate, which descends. An estate. Estate. So right away, we started out with something that said your family's heirloom. Then we went from heirloom, we found out that it's chattels. The chattels are movable goods that goes along with the inheritance. So then we look up inheritance and we go, well, what the heck is inheritance? And we find out that inheritance in the very first part of the very, sentence is an estate. What? So let's read the whole thing. An estate which descends or may descend to the heir upon the death of the ancestor. Also to the fact of receiving an estate as heir. Okay? So this is also going to get interesting when we talk about to the heir upon the death of the ancestor. Okay? So, estates are freehold or estates of inheritance, absolute or limited, and estates not of inheritance or for life only. But I won't get down too far into these because you'll have to read them over and over and over and over and over. As you see, there's quite a few different ways of talking about the inheritance, but I think it's important just to stick with this, keep it simple for right now. Okay, an estate. Okay, so then we say, okay, what's an estate? And you saw right here, I went back to my Anderson's Law Dictionary to look up estate. Okay, estate, estate, standing, condition, category, state, status. Okay, position, rank in life, degree as an addition of estate. Okay, C, addition, necessaries. All right, estates of the realm. Okay, so again, estate being your status, position, rank in life, degree as an addition, estate. Okay, 3 branches. Here we go. So estates of the realm. Okay, so these are the 3 branches of the English legislature: the Lord's spiritual, the Lord's temporal, and the commons. So basically what that means is a lot of these words, we function on the British, our money system came from the British money system. The people that founded the corporation of the United States that ended up being what we are, not necessarily America, because we're not America anymore, that most people understand, unless you know common law, God's law. But if you look at this, it says estate in lands, okay? Estate in lands. So once you understand that when they talk about estate, they're talking about land, okay? So here we go. In Latin, status, the condition or circumstances in which the owner stands with regard to his property. So again, Latin is a dead language. Latin is a dead language, okay? Which means it can't be changed, it can't be manipulated. The reason English works so well for the masters of this realm is because they can keep changing the languages or adding definitions or make words mean different things. Look at the young kids these days, how they have this, it's a whole new language, and I'm sure it was that way as I was growing up when we were using these new words and stuff like that. They put words out there to really start to fudge up how people understand. And even the Georgia Guidestones, their 10 commandments say create a new living language. They want a living language because they can change it all the time. But if you go to Latin here, in Latin, status, the condition or circumstances in which the owner stands with regard to his property. Okay? So, right here, legal interest in land. Okay? Legal interest in land. So estate in a general sense is basically land. And the reason that works in a legal standpoint is because your parents came together, created you, they had a part to play in that creation. And then they ate they consumed plants and animals of the land that essentially those minerals and nutrients helped you to grow. Your entire makeup of your body comes from the earth, okay? So they took the land up to create you. So technically, you are a piece of the land, but you're also movable, which is why they use the word chattels, because you're movable goods, but you're movable land. So technically you're part of the land. So lawfully speaking, and this is where they can go in front of a judge and they can argue their standing. This is why they have justified what they're doing, is because you are technically of the land. So since you're of the land, they can put you in the definition of an estate, land. Which brings us back over here to why is this so important with the bottoms of our feet, right? because you're not really developed. If you notice, like look at the fat thumbprint here. You know, like these little the thumbs of our feet, the big toe, great toe, the great toe here. It's not really developed there. But the reason I block out the bottom of the feet, because the lines in the bottom of your feet is basically, it's a map. Okay, it's biometric mapping. Plain and simple, biometric mapping. Just like they got the thumbprints from my mother here, because you know, it's biometric mapping, so they can you know, it's unique. It's unique. So this record of the fact of this record of this piece of land, which is the movable goods being the baby, they made a record. They took the survey of the land, which is, they mapped out, the biometrically mapped out the survey of the land. They said that this baby was 7 pounds, 3.5 ounces. It was 20.5 inches long. That's the same thing as saying, you know, that you have 1.5 acres of land, and then you have you know, a map of the land. So the feet are the kind of the map of the land. So, you know, it's logical to them that if they can put it in order and present this to a judge where they can make it fit into some certain definitions, then that's why lawyers run this world, because lawyers are able to make sense of things. Sorry about that. I shouldn't say make sense of things. They're able to make things fit so that it works in their benefit. Okay, so let's keep going here. Heirloom record of the facts pertaining to your child's birth. The law requires that the original certificate, this is a big one here, okay? That the original certificate, right here, not this document, be filed with the Vital Statistics Office, okay? So that the original certificate, not this document. So the fancy, heavy weighted document that you have with the gold seal on it. By the way, they still do gold seal. I had my birth certificate authenticated, okay, just for the hell of it, because now I actually have to file a false registration because they recorded my name improperly. It's not the correct way to record a living person's name. But it's interesting that the original certificate, that certificate they sent you home with, if it was just a trinket anyway, why wouldn't they give you the original one? And the reason is because somebody else created this business. Somebody else created this corporation. The state created this corporation. So there's two owners, okay? And since they're the ones that actually did the paperwork, they went ahead and filed it because nobody ever asked the difference. Nobody ever said, I want the original. Nobody ever says that. So again, if you consent to things, they can do whatever they want. If you do not insist it's done a different way, they can do whatever they want. So you see that this original certificate, or this certificate is not the original. It's filed at the government office. Okay, so if it was just a trinket, why would they file it at the government office? You know, why would they want to keep this information in the government office? Because it's much, much more than that. Okay, they actually have created a fictitious corporation, an artificial person with your name backwards. And that is why. Okay, let me, oh, so here's the other. Now here's an Oxford dictionary, okay? So again, we want to go in and look at different dictionaries because you get a lot of different information from different dictionaries. So Oxford goes into heirloom, and it actually breaks the word down and talks about, the loom is the tool. So basically heir is a family generation. It's a new addition. And then the loom is the tool that binds, I want to say cotton or wool, but the loom is the tool that interweaves it. So, and then right away you can see here a chattel. that under a will, settlement, or local custom follows the devolution of real estate. Okay, and again, we went in and looked at estate. Estate means land. Hence, any piece of personal property that has been in a family for several generations. So yeah, it's interesting to go through and see different dictionaries, what information they have, because they have all kinds of different information in there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for now. I want to make sure I have everything. Yeah, okay. So that is the birth certificate, and you can, if you have the original, it's interesting to go through this, especially since mine seems like a very, very old antique these days. But I'm sure there's plenty of people that are older than I am, and you can go through there and you can really break down your birth certificate and see what wording is on there. I was trying to remember my friend Anna. I was trying to remember because I wanted to include it. She had some other interesting wording on hers as well. So depending on which state you're from, they have different legal definitions on the birth certificate. But they all, just know that they all come from a corporation, and they are all sub-corporations of the big corporation, which is the Corporation of the United States. Just realize they recorded your name wrong and backwards on purpose in order to create an artificial person that they can do business with. Then they have you believing from birth, because your parents believed it too, that you are this particular entity, and you refer to yourself with your name backwards. Okay, you don't call yourself the right name. You refer to yourself as this artificial person. So they have taken a real live person and made them, loomed them together with this artificial person. Okay, and that way they have complete control over this artificial person. Okay, plus you're making money for this business they created, but you're not asking for what you're supposed to have. You don't have access to that account. There's no such thing as you having an account that you're not supposed to have access to. Any account that you open is your account. No matter if it's a bank account, if it is a, if you start a utility account, let's say I go with DWP, Department of Water and Power, okay? And I start an account with them. And at the end of the year, there's an excess of money. They would have to send a check back to me, okay? For example, I overpaid the the DMV. I overpaid the DMV. That's my account, right? And in that account, they had to send me back what was owed to me, because that's my account. Okay? So this is your account. However, when you have a corporation, if there's an excess at the end of the year, all the excess goes in, the dividends go out to everybody's account. So you have money in that account, but you've never accessed your account. You've never asked them to have access for your account, which is where a Form 56 comes into place. If you look up anything this week besides checking out your birth certificate, I suggest you look up a Form 56. Check out a Form 56. Read what Form 56 means. It means you take fiduciary control. Okay? Go get your dictionaries and look up fiduciary. What does fiduciary mean? Why does that matter? Why is it important? It's important we start understanding these things. I have sent my Form 56 out. I did it 2 days ago. I imagine by the end of next week, I'm going to have some sort of correspondence. I am taking over my accounts again. I shouldn't say again, I never took them over in the first place, because they start this as you're a baby, but when you turn 18, you're supposed to claim your inheritance. When you turn 25, you're supposed to be a master of your affairs. Okay? I now refer to myself as Mr. Thor. The courts refer to me as Mr. Thor. That means Master Thor, or Ryan. That's it. It's not Ryan Thor. That's not me. It's Mr. Thor, Ryan, or just Ryan. That's the way. unless you're talking about me and Dude Man. As performers, we go by Thor and Dude Man, just because Thor's a little bit more fun. So, and Dude Man is a rock star. Dude, are you ready to go? We're gonna go do some work. You wanna go do some work? Yeah? I got lots of treats for you. Yeah, he hears me. I don't know if you can see him there, but he's looking. So anyway, I and if anybody has any comments, please leave them below. Definitely like and share this stuff. Challenge me. If there's something that you disagree with, put it out there. Let's talk about it. But challenge me on anything and everything. If you think for some reason that, it's not an artificial person, you're full of, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. I can tell you right now that there's other people that I work with that have already put in their SS4s for their social security person and gotten an employer identification number over that business. Okay. And I put my SS4 in, and I obviously did something wrong because they did not send me my employer identification number yet. But I think I left out some information that I need. So again, it's a learning process for me. It's not like I've got it all figured out. And that's why I'm a little bit slow to share too much of what I'm doing with people, because I don't want to give anybody any information that's gonna hold you up at all. When I tell you something, I want you to know that I've already tried it. I've already tested it, proved it. So everything that I'm telling you here is stuff that I went through and read and proved to myself. Believe nothing. Hear everything, see everything, read everything, but believe nothing until you can prove it for yourself. That goes with this whole COVID thing. There's so many people that say, well, there's part of it that's true. And, it's like, really? Well, prove it. Prove it to me. Because I don't see any of this. I don't see not a bit, okay? It affects people the same way it always has. Some people are not gonna make it through it because they're already sick and unhealthy. So until you can prove it, I haven't been able to prove it. So we all have to put our thinking caps on. We gotta put our thinking caps on. And people gotta start taking time to invest in learning. And a lot of people will ask me, well, why do you spend your time with this stuff? I said, because I'm gaining knowledge, and the knowledge is the power. So that's the only thing I can do. I can't change what the media and the government and the propaganda is going to do. I can't change that they're going to shut down the economy, and that certain people that work for themselves like me are not going to be able to participate. Especially some people who are really terrified of the jab, that they're going to have to get a vaccination in order to keep working. And that is happening. My friend just emailed me an email. I have not gone through it yet, but her work is talking about how they're going to be vaccinating. And I'm sure it has to do with like what their choices are. She's already had to wear the mask for a long time. So anyway, we'll keep talking about that stuff, but I hope everybody really goes and takes a look at the birth certificate and a lot of the interesting definitions that go along with the birth certificate. It is a official, document. It is a bank note. So it is a creation of an artificial business, which you are not. However, you can operate that thing and you can take control of that thing. And again, the way that the 1099-C, if you haven't looked up 1099-C yet, which I've been telling you in all of my other videos, the way the 1099-C works is you are working for this business, right? You're making this business run, which is making them a shit ton of money, okay? So as you have expenses, you simply charge the expenses to the business. And you do that with a 1099-C. You cancel the debt. You say, hey, look, I've got to buy a car in order to get around, So you do a 1099-C, you write off the debt, you send it into the IRS, you have your identification number, and you have the car dealership's identification number, and you simply transfer the assets to them so that you can acquire the car. Or if it's a bill, like a phone bill, You got to use your phone in order to run their business, right? So you simply put your identification number with the phone company's identification number. They transfer the assets over there and pay for your bill, because in essence, the company has to pay for your operating expenses. So that is the first way to think about how this is working. Okay. The other main thing is to start realizing that you're not the same person. If you still think that you are the social security number and you don't understand that it is a separate functioning business and you're simply the operator of that business, but you are not that social security person, when you go into court and they say, are you first name, middle name, last name? Your answer is no. You don't identify, because that is the corporation name. You have to start knowing who you are. You'll hear that a lot. You have to know who you are. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I definitely would like to hear that. I also have my email up there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email me. I do take calls from people to discuss some of this stuff too, because we're all learning, and I think it's important that we all pool our resources, because the truth is elusive at best. And there are so many people out there that are purposely trying to mislead, that it's important that we stick together. Okay? All right. Put your thinking caps on, and we will see you very soon.